Good evening. I'm Dr. Greenbrier Almond, and thank you for joining us on our program, Tender Loving Care. Each week on Channel 3, we talk about this interface between Christianity and medicine. And what better way to present that topic than with our guest, Barbara Kincaid, and some update information from the Center for Pregnancy Care. So Barbara, thank you for coming on.
Oh, what a pleasure. You know, I've always enjoyed talking to you anyways, but it has been a good year this year.
Mm-hmm.
Since January, we have been very, very busy with lots of activities. You know, main point of all of this is to make sure that we save those babies. And
right.
we do it in a way that's, I think, it's God's way.
Mm-hmm.
It's not our way. It's God's way. It's what the Bible tells us that we need to be doing to save these babies.
Yeah.
And that's through love. It's not through violence. It's not
Mm-hmm.
through anything but God's precious
right.
love.
I want to share with you a bit of scripture
Okay.
because I have become a grandfather this year. So
exciting.
speaking about excitement in this year, this is a little girl, and our daughter Maria and son-in-law Justin have selected a Bible name, Eliza, and this is where it's from. And indeed, every child is precious, but of course, I have a special connection to little Eliza.
Yes.
And being a West Virginian, actually, I like this choice. If you go to the Psalms of David, the 96th Psalm, and particularly I want to lift up verse 12. The psalmist is saying, "Let the field be joyful, and all that is therein. Then shall all the trees of the wood rejoice." And of course, here we are, spring is coming,
Yes.
the flowers have just come out in the last day or two.
Yes.
Our fields are looking more joyful. And then, of course, soon the trees will burst out, and then indeed the woods will rejoice.
Absolutely.
And that's Eliza. And the rest of this is almost like for Easter,
Yes.
and we're in the Lenten season. Before the Lord, before the Lord, for he cometh to judge the earth. He shall judge the world with righteousness, and the people with his truth. And indeed, the Lord has come.
Yes.
He is risen, and he is in heaven, the Lord Jesus Christ, and God is on the throne, and Jesus is
Yes.
at the right hand, and Jesus is coming again. So this is a verse about Easter and about the
life.
coming of the Lord in a
Yes.
way. I mean, it's a prophetic verse.
Yes.
I know the Jewish people in part believe that the Lord is yet to come, and they don't quite accept Jesus as Messiah, but they know that the Lord is coming.
Yes.
And the woods are rejoicing. And actually, in another message of another interpretation of this, it talks about exalted joy.
Okay.
You know, the
Yes.
highest kind of joy. So in children, and now back to you, in children, that is one of the highest joys we will ever experience, either our own grandchildren, our own children, or just to save the life of a child that cannot save its own life.
That's right. You know, in one of my papers that I had to do for, you know, I'm in my master's
Yes, congratulations.
program.
Yes,
Yeah, well,
You're an excellent social worker. Now you're going to have the credentials to prove it.
well, that's what I hope all of this is about. But
Yeah.
it did kind of seem like God kind of led me into this because, you know, I've been at the Pregnancy Center. In fact, March the 12th made 8 years.
8 years. Congratulations.
Yeah, so I have
So
seen...
this is an anniversary.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, it is. And but I wanted to be able to, you know, to reflect back and to look back and to look at all the, you know, the activities and the presentations that I've done, the
Sure.
times that I've been here, and
Right.
I really, you know, took a kind of a back seat looking in, and God kind of gave me this opportunity through my husband, who retired as a full board colonel from.
We certainly honor him, and our whole community is grateful for all the leadership he provides or has provided for years and years to our
Yes.
National Guard, and then,
Yes.
of course, the time overseas
Yes.
defending us. Yeah.
And my two children also serve, and they follow and color, you know, in their father's footsteps. But, you know, he is a leader. He is a strong man of Christian faith, but I had the opportunity through him, through the VA bill, the GI bill. He came home and said, "Hey, look, I'm not going any further in school." He has his master's, and he said, "We can now transfer that." And it's like, wow, how exciting! So that kind of put the burden off as far as how to pay for a master's degree. So I jumped to the opportunity.
Why not? Yeah. And you're going to a Christian university. I mean, Liberty University.
Right.
Jerry Falwell followed that, founded that several years ago. And
and you know, this is my first kind of semester, but there's 50,000 students to go there.
That's
and then I have...
That's larger than West Virginia University.
Yes, I did not realize it was that big, but they have several programs there that also I did not know about. I have a human services class, and I also have a communications class, and both of these I've learned a lot. The communications about the Bible. I have done many projects on the Bible, and I've learned more through having this communications class. The human services class, we have little short videos, and I didn't realize how big this campus was versus what they do. They have a pregnancy center there. They have
on campus.
Yeah.
How about that? Well, you can imagine. I mean, let's say that we are saved by grace, but we're not perfect. I mean, and so 50,000 students. There are going to be some students that are pregnant.
Yes.
And they need to counsel. They need to decide about adoption or whatever they're going to do. Yeah.
Well, they utilize all the agencies too. The YMCA for domestic violence. I was quite impressed with the surroundings and the environment that they have, you know, worked so that we could be a part of that as well. So I feel very honored to be able to do this. So
you do some time on campus and then do some by long distance?
No, it's totally online.
Online.
Everything is total online. So that was a little different to get used to because I was used to going to class.
Sure.
But my class now is my dining room table and my computer. So that's where it's at now.
Yeah,
so, But
well, actually, you know, now even when there's a lecture, and I've been out of school for a long time, too. In fact, we celebrated last year 45 years out of high school, our class reunion here in town.
That's good. That's young.
I know, but when I started college, then they said, now college is going to be rough, but you go to a lecture and then you put in 3 hours of study for every class. So in a way, the lecture could be online itself, couldn't it? You could watch it on TV or something.
Absolutely. And that's what we do. They're so technologically advanced that I can look at my professors online, watch at them.
Can you answer a question, or is it a taped ask a question? Is it?
No, it's all communications through what they call a discussion board. Also through, of course, the webmail.
So the lecture might be taped, and then but he'll respond to your question if you ask the professor.
They're pretty good about how fast, especially with this discussion board.
How about that?
So it is amazing, and of course I had to learn all of this too. How to figure it out and all. But God's given me the opportunity, and
good.
And I really felt that this is the next step we could go with the pregnancy center.
Right,
we have
and
so many
you remain as our consultant.
Yes.
And that means you provide a lot of leadership and, of course, cutting edge for us. I mean, in other words, what's new in Centers for Pregnancy Care? What's new, say, about ultrasound? What's new about this or that?
Yeah. Well, I hope that that's what I bring forth is my knowledge and sharing that. Since January, since we know that in January, that was the 39th year that the United States made abortion legal. So that in itself was just a big, I think 39 years that we have been aborting children, approximately 4,000 a day. I mean, you know, if you live in that world like I did before I took over the pregnancy center, it's not a problem. But then, boy, when God takes it and urges you out there and says, you know what, I want you to do this. Let me tell you, it has been a journey. So since January, I have spoken probably in a 3-county area every Sunday. Every Sunday.
Different place every Sunday.
Different places, different churches. Learned the compassion that the churches have for this. But I think too, they don't know where to go with it.
No.
Prayer, let me tell you, has to be at the top of the list. I think that as Christians, we have to stand up. And I don't think that we've been doing that, either through fear or through the lack of, I'm not sure what it's the lack of.
Right.
Maybe understanding of what is actually going on. If you want to act that, it's not your problem, then maybe as Christians we've not done the work that God has intended us to do.
My wife and I were aware of everything as doctors, but not totally involved.
Right.
And then our son went to Washington, D.C. to study, and because I think we've been on the board for over 10 years now,
Right.
a couple years before you got there. And so, but anyway, he was there in Washington, D.C., and every year in January there's a parade. Or march up to the Supreme Court. And so, lo and behold, Ronce and his roommate at GW decided that they would march. And I'm glad they did. And lo and behold, they of course, being sophomore in college, they got right to the front of the line and got their picture broadcast across America.
Wow.
And then we see our son doing this, and suddenly, okay, what are we doing?
Right. You're right. And that's basically how it does kind of, flip and flop. Because I know for me, again, it didn't mean anything to me as a Christian until, again, I began to start looking at the whole picture and realizing.
By the way, anyone who's, as they're listening to us today, if you want to call the Center for Pregnancy Care right here in Buchanan, it's down on Randolph Street.
160.
160 Randolph Street, and that would be 304-473-1122. And so you can talk to Barbara or one of the volunteers. We have a new office manager, in fact, too.
Yes, Debbie Butcher's her name. Terrific person, really working hard to learn everything that, she needs to learn, because a lot of people don't realize, it's basically the board, me, and then her. So, and we serve that 9-county area, so we have a big responsibility to make sure, again, that we get the word out, and the word is that abortion is wrong. There is no gray area.
No.
I meet so many people, and I've gone to even some of the churches, and some of the women say, but isn't that better than the backstreet alleys? Well, if you listen to what Norma McCorvey said and all of that, you'd realize that the Supreme Court was bombarded with not the truth. That this amendment was based on not the truth. So
now, the other thing that's changed in 39 years is that, as a doctor, I'll know this for sure, but anyone thinking about this, prenatal units have become so precise. A baby could be 20 weeks old and survive. You might say, well, that's a death sentence if a baby's born that early, but it's not. The baby can survive, and of course, you can see also that the baby is fully formed. I mean,
yes, absolutely.
9 weeks or something like this, you can see that. And so, 39 years ago, maybe ignorance is no excuse in the eyes of the law, but maybe people were ignorant about how babies develop and how they can survive.
Right. Well, in one of those, of course, I have the calendar this year,
the
2000.
Isn't it beautiful?
12 calendars.
And show an ultrasound picture.
And when you, of course, I know it's a little bit tough for you to see.
Maybe I can hold it and you can point to something. Okay.
Yeah, if we don't put the light on it so much, just kind of bend it.
So
but as you can see, this is the 4D ultrasound.
Yeah.
And you can literally see their little eyes, their mouth, their nose. And this is the baby born. And
the ultrasound was about how many weeks?
It's 28, about 28 to 29 weeks.
Okay. And so each of these calendars, we're looking at August, but each month would have a different baby and the ultrasound.
Yeah, these are...
Now there's a new law, or it's fairly new, that before the abortion takes place, I mean, if a lady is determined that she wants to have an abortion, then an ultrasound needs to be done, and she needs to look at that ultrasound.
Right, or she signs a waiver.
Or signs a waiver. She doesn't want to do that. But that's a good reminder, isn't it, that there's a baby inside.
Yes.
It's not just a blob. or whatever people want to say.
You know, and you wonder when you think back how it really got started. I mean, you would think that was a blob. How are you born a child with
Right.
legs and arms and a
Right.
brain and kidneys and heart? I don't understand that concept. Why did they, you know, again, want to lie so much? If a woman wanted an abortion, you know, you had to make sure that the facts were there, because now we have
Right.
women that for the past, you know, 39 years of legalized abortion are feeling guilt, are feeling ashamed,
Right.
are in their corners, or having mental illness problems because they realize now what they've done.
Right. Right.
The
You
truth
know,
wasn't spoken.
Right, and then I think the other thing that happens, and this is just a caution of anyone who's out there, but the sexually transmitted diseases
Yes.
are so rampant because people are having multiple sexual partners,
Yeah.
and that human papillomavirus, for example, we have a
Yes.
vaccine against that. We didn't have that a long time ago, but we know that that's if people get that, they could have cervical cancer,
Right.
and so the what's happening is that sometimes women get a sexually transmitted disease, and then maybe it blocks the fallopian tube. They can never have a baby.
Right.
So this one baby that they aborted
Right.
is the last pregnancy they'll ever have.
And that's right. And I have met those women who
And there's a
have-
regret about that.
Oh, my
that's
goodness.
one big regret. I hear that every day.
I was going to say, you as a psychiatrist,
I
you
mean,
as a doctor, probably
right.
hear it a lot more than I do, but yes, I hear it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some that have contacted us through the pregnancy center, and even though we've talked to them, they go and I hope to think it's very few
Mm-hmm.
after they have spoken with us, because I think of the babies, many babies that we have saved through the fact of the truth.
Mm-hmm. Right, right.
But they went ahead and decided to have the abortion because they just thought there was no other way out. But then they've had it a year later. They either end up pregnant again, or they're not able to get pregnant.
Right, right.
And then it's
It's too
so
bad.
sad.
It's too bad.
yes.
Yeah. When people call the center and they can ask for information, they can come in and get paperwork,
Yes.
booklets to read, watch videos. Tell me. You're not forcing something down their throat
Oh,
they don't want to
no, no,
receive.
no,
It's just an
no.
opportunity, isn't it?
It's just an opportunity, you know, when they call us, and that's where we get most of them. You know, we're in the phone book, and we serve the 9 counties, but, you know, they can Google us on the computer, and our
Yeah.
website comes up. But for the most part, we ask, where do you hear the information at? And it's the telephone book. It's Abortion Alternatives,
Yeah.
but they give us a call, and the first words out of their mouth is, do you do abortions? And it's like, wow, you really want to do this? We have information on abortion, but, you know, we try to get them there so that they know the truth.
Right.
And we get, of course, we have the free ultrasounds that we can now have available.
Dr.
So-
Rollins will supervise that, and
Yes.
and we're so grateful to him and
Oh,
St.
it's so
Joseph's
just-
Hospital
yeah.
for the work they do to help us out. Well, Barbara, what should our community be doing? I mean, there may be someone watching and they'll say, okay, Barbara Kincaid is talking every Sunday in a church.
Right.
There's a house for people to come and have interview, receive information. But we need resources, don't we, from time to time? And this is not a begging time here, but what if someone wanted to be involved? What's a project that you have on tap right now?
Many of them can just come down to the center. They can, you know, if they want to spend 30 minutes or a half hour, they can look at our baby room. They can look at our resources.
I'm so happy that the Classic Car Club, and I'm just thinking from the guy's standpoint, but about a year ago, they said, let's adopt the center, and every mother and father, when they have a baby, they need a car seat, even to leave the hospital now.
That's right. You can't
get home without a car seat.
That's right.
But they have determined through raising money at their various antique car rallies to give us a supply of these car seats, and that's a marvelous gift. I don't know how God implanted that in their hearts, but I'm sure that someone was inspired and they followed through.
Well, I know Rick from church, and when he became president, he approached because I had spoke at
Okay,
our church
there you go.
several
Okay,
times. So
you planted the seed, and
that's right.
it bore some fruit.
Yes, and that's what you always hope, that when you are invited to a church, that I'm not preaching. I'm telling you from the heart what God put on my heart to do for this this terrible destruction of human life.
Yeah.
There's so much, Dr. Almond, that goes on. And as a social worker, we have no value of life. We can't have a value of life. When we, on a day-to-day basis, a doctor is taking this life of this child and putting it in a trash. Of course, now they are incinerating them. How, I don't know. That's my greatest prayer as well, is that these doctors who feel that it's so right, but
I'm
it's
sure
so
that,
wrong.
like in Egypt, when there was the bondage was taking place, the Israels were 400 years in slavery. The Pharaoh's heart was hardened.
Yes.
I'm sure that if someone does something repeatedly, like take the life of a baby, their heart is hardened.
Yeah.
And they're not the same person, say, that originally went into medicine, maybe to save life or to heal people.
Yes.
And it's tragic, of course.
But it can be turned around, because I know his name was Nelson's son. He performed 75,000 abortions until the ultrasound was invented. And when he was in that operating room or whatever, and that abortion was getting ready to take place, and this doctor had the ultrasound machine, and he watched that baby literally just flee and flight. And we know that
move away because of pain.
Away.
Because
yes,
of pain.
because of pain.
Right.
And that was many years ago.
And that was a myth up till that time, that babies don't experience pain. But yeah, if the needle is coming at the baby and the baby's withdrawing, that's a pain response.
That's right, and that's finally what they have now come up with, of course. And we have bills, in Charleston that hopefully will get passed on a national level. We've got, Mississippi that tried to pass the law on personhood.
Right, just not quite written right, but a good attempt, and it needs to be looked at again.
But the women, even the Christian women, were like, well, you're going to take away my right to reproductive, it again.
Right.
But we are still eliminating babies.
One of those things, and I studied medical ethics for a while. It began with an interest at Wesleyan. They had an excellent course on Christian ethics. But in medical school, we talked about this a lot. And every time there's a decision made, and I'll take something completely neutral here, but a vaccination. You want to save the child from getting polio. And at first that was a shot. So you inflict the pain of the shot, which the child will scream and yell.
Right. Yes.
But they do not get paralytic polio. They don't get on an iron lung, and they don't die. So every medical ethic, you have to decide what is the greatest good.
Right.
Yes, women will have rights. I'm sure they do. But the baby has rights too.
Well, it has to.
You have to think about that.
You have to think about that. We didn't get here because of a fluke.
No.
It's a very, very complex, but yet simple way of thinking. We're put here so that we bear, we bear the fruits that our children, and our children will continue to flourish in this country. Again, 2,000 years ago, it was very primitive, but yet today's scientists are looking at how did the pyramids get built, and maybe some of that technology was there, but still very primitive. And I think that
and if you go back to the primitive times, to go out to our Heaven or Cemetery. I did this after my mother died, and then my father died, and I'd never really paid attention to cemeteries, but I began to. And anyway, you see that that there are infant deaths there, and these were diseases, cholera, typhoid, smallpox, and there was no prevention. And so you realize a mother had 8 pregnancies, and 4 of them died before they got to be an adult or something like that. Now we can save a lot of lives, even those lives where someone the doctor or someone says, well, this baby's deformed, that baby may be a blessing.
Oh, we know it is.
I mean, it will be. It will be a blessing.
You know that.
Did you see the article just the other day? The university president up at West Virginia University, his wife and he have a special needs little girl, apparently 11 years old.
Yes.
She has some hypotonic muscle disease.
Right.
But she's such a blessing to the family.
You're right. I don't know where all of this is going to go. I just know that for me as a social worker, I see the disparities, sometimes a lot more than what I want to see. But I also know that unless we have God as our foundation, for those people who are out there teetering on the brink of no return, you know, the young man who in Ohio, and my heart goes out to those families who lost their, you know, their sons and all.
Three people have died and several other wounded. And
this gentleman was in, you know, I just heard in court today. But you got to look at the foundation of our family is no longer there. But how are we going to take, again, these children, make them strong and know that God's the only place to go. And when you find yourself pregnant as a young lady, you don't turn to abortion. You turn to life because when you turn to life, it'll be okay.
Right. Somehow God will make a way.
Oh, I know God will make a way.
Well, Barbara, thank you for coming on. We have a moment or two, and you wanted, beforehand, we talked about a golf tournament or something like this. Whatever the community can get involved with, let's let them know.
Okay.
Something's coming up. Some people may be able to make a donation to the center indirectly while they're out there on the links.
Absolutely. We do have lots of activities. April 28th is our golf tournament.
Okay.
And it will be at the Riverbend Golf Course. 9 o'clock's registration, 10 o'clock tee off. And we have Performance Motors this year who will be sponsoring hole number 9 with a car.
Wow, really?
Yes.
Oh my
we
goodness.
are so excited.
Wow,
so
okay.
They're going to be bringing some vehicles over, but they're sponsoring this hole. And I know we have some wonderful golfers out there, and I know they've gotten that hole-in-one. Well, there's a car at this hole-in-one.
How about that? Wow.
So we're real excited. The performance, but Christy Hines and her family have just done a fantastic job. And the thing that makes it so wonderful is that she came to me and says, hey, we can sponsor a golf tournament for you. So we're excited, really excited.
Now, this is going to be a little earlier than the Strawberry Festival. That was sort of an issue, wasn't it, when you try to do too much at the festival?
Well, that's what, we just kind of said, well, maybe we would back it up. We'd get those golfers out, those die-hard golfers at the first of spring
but you'll probably be doing something at the festival if people want to stop by and see a booth or something.
Absolutely. We will be there again this year. We also have coming up that same day on the 28th, we have the Baby and Me at the mall, at the Meadowbrook Mall.
Okay.
We also have a table set up at the blood screening because the blood screening is going on that day. So we have many activities. But the Strawberry Festival is also very important, where we just meet so many people in the community and share our strawberry shortcakes. Last year it was our strawberry milkshakes.
Wow.
That seemed to go very well.
Okay, well, Barbara, thank you very much for coming on.
God bless you, Doctor. You know, and thank you again for your dedication to stay on the board. I know a lot of people are busy, and I know you're a busy person, but it takes that dedication. You've been there 10 years.
Yeah, well, I don't mind it. We have a granddaughter now, and reasons to do that. So until the next time, this is Dr. Greenbrier Almond, and thank you for joining us on our program, Tender Loving Care. Thanks to Barbara, and thanks to Channel 3 for this opportunity to come your way. We'll see you next week.
Bye.